Alright CRS fam, let's get real. If you've been watching my channel for a bit, you know the drill, right? So essentially, I've been doing a ton of caliber comparisons over the years, and especially a lot lately, because I just enjoy doing them. I love looking at the mechanics, I love looking at the different specs. It's my cup of tea. And yeah, I've shit on most and pretty hard. Because the majority is the same old crap wrapped in a totally different package. It's another Magnum slightly tweaked, another short action, which is basically a Creedmoor with lipstick on it. And I've called it out every time, because there's already a caliber out there that basically does the same thing. So do you want to get an entire new package just so you could go with this one that's, there's kind of an advantage, but is there really? Is there really? Because the little bit of advantage, you get a higher price tag. So it kind of makes it not worth it. In my opinion, a lot of them have been dead on arrival. So today I wanted to flip the script, do something legit that actually I like. This way you guys know that I'm not just shitting on everything. Like, I can't just always point out problems, I gotta give some solutions. And this is gonna be a solution video, because this is a caliber that is completely amazing. And it's the Federal 7mm backcountry. Yeah, I'm serious, it's worth the video. You wanna know why? Because it's awesome. The fact of the matter is, when real progress, when something really innovative shows up at on my desk, I'm gonna give it a good review. Until then, I'm just going to keep crapping on things. And the 7mm backcountry is one of those calibers. Now, before we get too far into this, let's talk about merchandise real quick. I am currently demonetized, likely forever. And if you'd like to help support the channel and help me pay the bills, best way to do that is shop at OnlyTechFans at Shopify.com, because that money goes directly into my bank account. There's no companies taking a percentage out of it. And it helps me fund everything. And with your guys' help, I can keep this whole thing going. So let's break it down. Federal launched the 7mm backcountry in early 2025. And now, in 2026, it's proven itself. I've seen a whole bunch of field testing. I was reading the magazines in prison. That's what actually turned me on to this whole caliber. And they were talking about how awesome it was and how it was a total game changer. And I have to admit, I'm impressed with it. So what brings this phenomenal performance to the table? It's the alloy case. And yes, I know SIG already did this case, right? They already have their two-piece case. This one's different because it's one alloy that's easy to manufacture, it's cheap to manufacture, it's reloadable, and it can handle 80,000 PSI. Gone are the days of limits being 60 to 65,000. Brass cases, they were honestly the weak link in all of this, and now we're unlocking magnum velocities with shorter barrels, which is amazing. This particular round shoots 170 to 195 grain bullet, screaming at over 3,000 feet per second from a 20-inch barrel. Remember, this isn't a 20-inch like some. This is a bolt gun with a 20-inch barrel. So in bolt guns, that's pretty small. So we have a small bolt gun barrel going from 2850 to 3161. Yeah, that's real testing. That's amazing. You're looking at a very flat trajectory, very little wind drift. It's going to have put massive energy downrange. So where did this come from, right? I mean, did they just pull this out of air? No, what had happened is they built on the technology that SIG developed with their 6.8x51 Fury and the NGSW program. That was from 2019 to 2022, and they got their cases up to 80,000 PSI. Now, I haven't seen this video where they were talking they could safely handle 100,000 PSI, and they may actually go there.
So these guns operate at about 77, 78 kpsi, the ammo and the gun. The ammo and the gun were developed to go up to 125 kpsi. So we can actually increase ammo velocity by, adding more powder formulations, technology to get the gun running faster with a shorter barrel and still achieve this type of thing.
That's amazing. SIG got the contract, so this is basically how it went down. And this is why I respect the SIG for this. SIG got their military contract, they cashed out on the particular patent, they got their money's worth, and they weren't just being some sort of patent trolls like, I don't know, some other company, I can't think of their name right now. Oh yeah, Rare Breed Triggers. They already got paid, that's okay, now innovation takes over. Federal adopted a similar peak pressure, but instead of going with a two-piece case, like I said earlier in the video, they went with a one-piece case, which solves a bunch of problems that SIG had, that SIG didn't think of. But that's what happens with innovation. Innovation comes on, and they start making progress. They start solving problems you've seen in other packages. And that's what's amazing. Federal's internal testing has just been crazy good with this. And Federal isn't the only one. I actually stumbled across this video, a viewer sent it to me, and that's what kind of inspired this video.
750 feet per second faster. The military is testing this stuff right now.
But his ammunition ain't on the market yet. He's just testing ammunition that's out there and currently being tested, but will enter the market soon. Anyways, this guy claims that the Special Forces, they're testing this new caliber, and I have no reason to doubt him. It's called the Shell Shock NAS3. It's a nickel alloy case and 5.56, guess what pressure? 100,000 PSI. That's almost double what 5.56 was before. It pushes a 175 grain Hornady boat tail at 3,500 feet per second out of an 18-inch Mark 12. That's a gain of 750 feet per second over a standard brass case. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Do you have any idea what that does for flatter trajectory, ballistic power, down range altogether? Like that's wild. I mean, we're talking 31-inch drop at 500 yards versus the brass case, which has 59 inches of drop. Yeah, this thing goes subsonic at 1,300 yards. You're basically turning your carbines into sniper rifles. Yeah, no blow-ups, no abnormal wear except for barrel. There's no free lunch. You're gonna parry forward in the barrel, especially in throat wear. He was saying that it was like 3,500 rounds out of his barrel before it started showing like signs of a zero shift in that. Where typically an AR-15 barrel or an M16 barrel, the last time I've seen anybody like test them to failure, like reasonable test, not just hold full auto, but actually like test it to failure, it was 10,000 rounds. So you are cutting your barrel life in half, which makes sense because you're doubling the pressure. How else does that matter? This particular round, the 77 grain I was talking about, goes 2,200 feet per second at 550 yards. That's wild. The farthest you could get before with the brass case was with a 55 grain projectile, 20-inch barrel, and it was 2,200 feet per second at 300 yards. Yeah. And 2,200 feet per second is a magic number with rifle calibers. That's what separates a rifle caliber from everything else.
Temporary wound cavity, as we expand and recover from, is different when projectiles hit at greater than 2,200 feet a second. At that point, it appears we have surpassed the elasticity capability of human tissue, and that temporary wound cavity begins tearing at its limits and margins and becomes the permanent wound cavity.
Right now, firearms are at a plateau. Basically, we got crazy awesome scopes, we got thermal technology, we got bipods, we got little Gucci grips and everything, but there's no free lunch again. You pay for that in weight and complexity, batteries, and it just costs a lot of money. We basically went as far as we could with firearms. We're just waiting for the next evolution, and I believe we've finally discovered that next evolution thanks to SIG. As much as I hated on their NGS program because I do not think that is a replacement for the M4, the ammunition technology they brought to the table was a game changer. I believe within less than 10 years, I could be wrong, but this is my belief, that 60,000 PSI will be obsolete. Everything will be moving to 80,000 to 100,000 PSI. And the thing is, they've tested these. So you're getting magnum punch out of a short barrel rifle, not like an SBR, but like a shorter, like normally with a Magnum, you're looking at 26-inch barrel. We're talking like 20-inch, 18-inch barrel. You're getting Magnum velocities out of this. It's just crazy good. And here's the key from all their testing is, aside from barrel life, which obviously your barrel's going to burn out faster because you're putting twice the flame down it, and you're going to a whole bunch of throw erosion and wear. The firearms we already have, modern bolt actions, standard semi-automatics, are handling this pressure just fine. The case was the weak point in the chain, and now that we're using different alloys and getting away from brass, we're able to handle these pressures safely because it turns out the casing itself does all the heavy lifting when it comes to pressure. So that's pretty awesome. And now in the 7mm backcountry, they actually go with a smaller rim, and they're saying that with that smaller rim, the force actually pushed on the bolt is the same as a standard 60,000 PSI Magnum cartridge with a bigger rim. Because they're using the smaller rim, there's less surface area and it can't exert as much force. So we're not seeing any extra force, actually similar force to a Magnum. What am I looking for here? We're looking for the similar forces and stresses put on a rifle that a Magnum caliber would put on a rifle with these new cartridges. So that's pretty awesome. Can you imagine what's going to happen when Hornady or someone starts rolling out with these cartridges for like a 300 PRC? Dude, it is a long-range beast. It's phenomenal at 65 PSI with a 225 grain ELD match. You're getting 2860 to 2900 feet per second. Wow. Imagine when you jack that pressure up to 80 to 100,000 PSI. I can't even fathom the ballistics on that. Yeah, again, there's no free lunch. That thing's going to kick. I mean, it's going to kick hard. There's going to be some recoil. But the downrange performance you're going to be able to get out of a 30 cal is just going to be phenomenal. And you can do this in 50 cal, 338 Lapuas. Like I said, we are at a new fulcrum point for ammunition technology. They're just doing the testing and everything now to make sure that it's all safe before they really roll out to the public scene. And Hornady's already primed for this. They've already had their high pressure, what are those called? Superformance cases in like 357 Ruger casings forever. So all they got to do is start implementing their new case technology, and obviously they're going to have to come up with something different because Federal's got theirs that has a patent, SIG has got theirs that's got a patent, so they got to come up with a slightly different alloy, and there's a billion alloys out there. They can just pick one and somehow make it better, because you only have to change something by 20% to not get patent infringement. So they just got to take one of those, change the mixture or something by 20%, and then they're good to go. And yeah, we're going to see some crazy stuff going on, and that's why I like the 7mm backcountry, because it changed firearms technology perceivably for the future. We'll have to see how everything goes, but yeah. Because what they did is they took the two-piece case that SIG had, which was a great idea. Awesome. Well, let's make it user-friendly. One-piece case. Now I can make it cheaper, faster, reloadable. Federal just absolutely nailed this. It was a rock-solid design, and that's why I support the 7mm backcountry. So basically, the 7mm backcountry, it ended the firearms plateau. We're now going to see a huge evolution, and thanks to that, because I just don't think it was reasonable with the SIG two-piece case, because the cost of that it would just wipe it off the market. People are going to stick with the normal calibers. But if you can bring in ammunition basically at the same price as existing ammunition and get this new performance, yeah, just wait till the Hornady's next drop, and I guarantee it's coming soon. Like, hold on. It's going to be a game changer, and they're just going to start rolling out cheap, premium, high-performance factory ammunition that we can just throw in your existing rifle, and boom, now you're on a whole nother level. And you don't even have to buy a new level and step on it and take a picture and be like, hey, I'm standing on a new level. No, you will go to a new level with this ammunition. Your Hyper 80 to 100,000 PSI cases is just amazing. It's going to be awesome. And that's the way innovation is supposed to work. You got an idea, right? And now we're going to advance onto this. So if SIG was a patent troll, they'd be just going after everybody for the end result of 80 to 100,000 PSI, and that's what they would try to patent, which is impossible. Instead, they just have their patent, so if anyone copies them directly, they're going to go after them, but they let innovation go. And that's where Rarebreed's screwing up, because the end goal of just having a force reset trigger, even though it's not the same thing as theirs, like the super safety, they're saying that their patent covers the end goal and not how they got there. Where SIG is like, okay, we're patenting how we got to this goal. So if you get to this goal too, that's cool, but you need to take a different route. And that's what innovation happens. People look at the original design, I can do it better. And a true innovator, they get paid right away from their design to where it doesn't matter if anyone patents it or takes their patent or whatever. By the time the knockoffs come out, they've already been paid, they already got rich, they don't care anyway. Anyway, the best way to support this channel directly is to go down and click on my Amazon affiliate link. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it. You're doing the Amazon shopping you're already going to do anyway. I have a kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.